And the very first word that came to mind was belonging. If I put myself in your shoes, I would feel like I would be asking, where do I belong? Where do I fit?
Right.
And what's so fascinating is that full circle. Now you are helping people belong and you are helping them fit, and you're doing it at a massive scale. And it's not even because you're intending to go out and I don't think you're intentionally like saying, this is my goal. I want to be on all of these boards and I want to, you are doing it out of sheer authenticity for your passions. And I think that we've talked a lot about finding that core. And when you live with that core, you're pulled more to do something than being pushed. And it ignites something in you that others pick up and catch up. Like they catch fire with you about those same things. How do you said you can feel it if you're not being authentic with yourself. Somebody were to start the journey of trying to connect more with themselves in that authentic way. Sometimes there are barriers. Sometimes there are things we don't want to admit about ourselves. Sometimes there's things we have to process and pain that's there that blocks that. What would you say to somebody to help them become more in line with their authentic self?
You have to practice. I
Mm.
think you have to be willing. And I think this is where particularly females are great. And when I find a male leader that does this, I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
this is great. You have to be willing to put your emotional self out there
Mm.
in a way that it's being vulnerable. It's I don't know, it's subtle. I'm willing to be vulnerable and tell you how it feels,
Mm-hmm.
in any given situation. And to me, I can speak from the heart, and therefore that's authentic.
Yeah.
People feel it. I mean,
Yeah.
when you can tell in a conversation where somebody goes,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm down a rocky road. I'm obviously not speaking from my core.
Yeah.
It's picking up on those social cues of others. I think slowly I've practiced. I've also become okay at age, as I'm approaching 60 this year. I've become comfortable in my own skin when I used to not be. And
Mm.
so then I can communicate it in a different way. But I've been comfortable in my own skin for quite some time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be functioning in the groups that I'm functioning in, taking those risks without having some comfort.
Yeah. I think if you look at the people that you've connected to and the network that you've built, but you also mentioned the friends that you have close that are very supportive, trusting, out for your best interests. So to where you can feel safe enough to be your authentic self when you're trying things on for size, right? And trying to figure out what the risk is. You are supporting one another. I think when you're female and you're trying to find your road and your path, a lot of times females don't support other females, or they're threatened by them, or they're jealous of them, or they want to rise to the top first. And I hear that females, and I've experienced it in some instances growing up, females are hard to get along with. Yet here we are years later. How, for somebody that is looking for advice on how to connect with other females and how to build that network of support around them in the same way that you have, how would you recommend they go about doing that?
Well, I think if you're open to it, you find those
Mm.
people. I don't get lost in the personalities. It's like the principle of the conversation is more important than the personality sitting in front of me. And I've found that it's that intuitive self. It's
Yeah.
like when somebody calls and says, I really want you to come and have lunch. I want to introduce you to somebody. I never know what that might lead to.
Yeah.
And I've found that I'm led to those that think similarly, that approach the world in the same way. And I wanted to just tap back to what you said. That friend group tells me the truth. They're willing to tell me the thing I don't want to hear, and I'm willing to hear it. And so that opens up a place of safety. And I think you don't always find that with friends, and you don't always find that. I find that I am attracted to people who behave that way and who integrate and work in those ways. And then there's so much more growth when that happens, So I kind of tie that back into all of it in one way or another.
And I think your leadership in that, even in the friendship dynamic alone, what you just said is they are willing to give it to you, but you are willing to hear it. And sometimes people are too afraid of hurting other people's feelings. And a lot of times it's either projection or it's because they have gone down that road and they have hurt that friend's feelings before and everything just shuts down, right? And so the communication about that, but the ownership of, I'm going to own me, you own you. What you think and feel is okay, but that's your opinion. I may or may not agree, but I want to hear it anyway because I want to grow and develop. And it's that natural curiosity and learning sense